thank you all for joining us again. I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping, sharing also what's coming up for the next session, for the afternoon session. Louder? Please feel free to enjoy lunch. If you haven't gotten lunch already, the lunch boxes are provided over here. Thank you, Blackboard, for sponsoring our lunches. Just in case you weren't here this morning, we wanted to reiterate what information that was shared earlier on. One of the things that we'd like to ask is if anyone has submitted an evaluation form, if you still have those evaluation forms for the breakout sessions, if you can return them to any of our cult team. We have these gray shirts, so if you still have any evaluation forms, please submit them to one of our cult teams. Again, if you weren't here this morning, in our goodie bags, you will find the agenda as well as a notepad and pen so that you can write notes for the upcoming sessions. So what's coming up? In just a few minutes, we will have our keynote presentation around 12:15, followed by some announcements from our sponsors, Blackboard Integrity. At 1:30 p.m., we will have an opportunity to visit with posters developed by our cult team, and you can ask them questions as well. 2 p.m., we will have a panel discussion. If you'd like to ask any questions concerning accessibility, we highly urge you. We have this parking lot poster in the back to post your questions to that parking lot poster, and we will grab those questions so that we can ask our panelists. Or you can actually use our Twitter feed, the hashtag eolc17. And then in keeping with the theme, Year of Access in Online Accessibility, Year of Access in Online Education, right? We invite you to participate in our EOLC Challenge. And so if you'd like to sign up for the EOLC Challenge, it's a workshop series. Sign up on our social media desk, which actually has a big fruit table on it. So if you could sign up there. And it's going to take place during the spring semester and summer session too. So basically what you're going to be doing is developing artifacts for your course, and we're going to go over different topics of accessibility. And we will also conclude at 3 p.m. With acknowledgments and recognition to our presenters and also closing remarks. Oh, sorry. Sorry. At this time, we'd also like to recognize Dr. Brown and thank you for making this conference a success and for your support. We have a token of appreciation for you that Francisco's going to give you. Thank you again for all you do.
One of our participants in the Bronx room left this. Does this belong to anyone? A friend of yours? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
wireless, or do I have to be tethered? There's a lavalier here. You know that. Yeah. Right. Right, should be on. I don't want people following me.
How's everybody enjoying their lunch? All right. Thanks to Blackboard for the lunch. Thank you, Rita. I'm here to introduce a friend of mine that I met a few years ago. Actually, it's been like maybe more than a few, at Texas DLA. And Raymond Rose is a major player in the policy making of most important subject that has been involved in online learning since the mid-90s. He's currently the chair of the Public Policy Committee at TXDLA, and among others. It's a great privilege to introduce him, Mr. Raymond Rose.
Start off with a quiz. Just as a, see how many of you are familiar with these terms, and I'm going to be using some of them as we go through. I'm going to move. So, you know, just get used to it. You guys have fun following. So we'll hit those as we go along. So this is, you know, Excellence in Online Learning, the year of online education. But so when we're talking about what have for a title, it's why. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, because it fits, and I'm going to frame it within this. I used to be a K-12 educator, and an administrator and a guidance counselor, you know, some of the K-12 stuff. And then I was working as a civil rights specialist for the Massachusetts Department of Education, where Massachusetts had a civil rights legislation in education that looked at race, sex, color, religion, and national origin. And as part of that, we did compliance monitoring, we did enforcement of state civil rights laws, as well as federal civil rights legislation. So over time, when I do things, that background comes into play a lot. So when I'm talking with you about accessibility issues, I'm coming at it from a civil rights specialist perspective and from a compliance monitoring perspective. Okay? So the virtual high school was the country's first online high school, and we did that over 2 decades ago, and I was part of the team that helped to create that. So I've been doing online education for a while. And as part of that, when we're looking at online education at the high school level, I said, we have special needs students. We knew we had students with disabilities. We had a variety of different types of issues that students had. So I wrote a special ed policy for the virtual high school. So that was the first virtual school special ed policy. 2007, I wrote a publication talking about access and equity in online learning. The problem was nobody cared. It wasn't until about 2007 that the enforcement agencies finally figured out that there was this thing called online education and there were some access problems. So it's taken a while for them to move along, even though we knew from the beginning that there were some problems. Okay, and I've been in faculty at Houston-Tillotson University, technical working groups. So I've done some other things. And then a couple of years ago, I did an update of that publication about online education. Now, it was focused on K-12, but the issues for K-12 and accessibility are the same for higher education. But this is my file of access, abilities, complaints, and issues since 2007, and this includes a good deal of higher education. So this is, the things that I'm going to be talking with you about are based, in fact, on this stuff. Why is this the year of access and online learning? There are 3 basic reasons. Enforcement. The Office for Civil Rights and the U.S. Department of Justice are going around and citing colleges, universities, K-12 institutions for violations related to access in online learning. Professional development. There's a focus on professional development related to accessibility. Your team here has been through the Texas Distance Learning Online Accessibility Certificate Program. We've run that now 3 times. Every time, with the new one starting, every time we offer it, it gets filled within 24 hours of our offering. There are other organizations that are also doing it. People have finally caught on that they need to be paying attention to these issues. And then there's something called the 508 refresh, sorry. 508 is legislation, and I'll get to that, but it's the regulations are being refreshed, and people are starting to pay attention to it. You may have heard reference to, well, we have to do things related to 508. Not really, because 508 applies to websites that are funded by the federal government. But the refresh is going to change what are required if you want to have a government contract. And anybody that wants to play with the feds has got to make changes in what they're doing. And that means it's going to benefit everybody, but there's changes there. So we'll hit some of that. So the terms that I was talking about at the beginning, or that I showed you at the beginning, A11Y, A, and if you finish accessibility, put accessibility in the middle, it's 11 letters. So you can be really cool when you're talking to your colleagues and use A11Y as the code for accessibility. Just, you're in the know. And you folks are all here. There are people who chose not to be here. In some respects, it's like talking to the choir, because you're here because you are interested in accessibility, because you're doing things. But so you got a little extra. ADA, you hear about that all the time, Americans with Disabilities Act. Basically, ramps and things like that are requirements for ADA, but ADA also has requirements related to websites and making sure that websites are accessible. And it doesn't make any difference whether somebody has a disability or not, that website had better be accessible. By the way, it doesn't make any difference whether you have a student with a disability in an online class. Your online class needs to be accessible right now. I'll come back around on that. Section 504 of the Rehab Act, if you've taught K-12, you're familiar with that because that's where you get students with special needs. But it doesn't end at 12th grade. In fact, this institution has a legal responsibility to be in compliance with Section 504 of the Rehab Act. You need to make sure that you're providing services to students with special ed. So you've got ADA and 504 playing together. So Section 508 is part of Rehab Act, and as I said, it applies to websites that are funded by the U.S. government. So it applies to U.S. Department of Education, it applies to Housing and Urban Development, it applies to all those folks. When Rick Perry was governor, he signed a piece of legislation that says any educational institution paid for by the state, any websites that are paid for by the state have to be in compliance 508. So not only do you have federal legislation that says things need to be in compliance, you've got state legislation. Now, nobody's doing enforcement in the state, of course. You wouldn't be surprised to find that out. But it doesn't prevent somebody from filing a lawsuit using state or federal concerns. So the 508 refresh is telling people you have to have accessibility built into any technical product that you are selling to the US government. So you will find that, and you're going to hear about something that is going to be happening here on campus with the Blackboard platform to make Blackboard more accessible later on. They're doing it out of the love of their heart, and also because they want to be able to sell things to the feds. Adobe, Word, all of those players are making changes to their product to make it easier to ensure accessibility, because 508 refresh came into, well, it was announced last month. They've got a year before they get it in play, before it starts getting enforced. Of course, I don't know how the changes in our administration are going to affect some of these things. But that's where the things stand right now. So we have friends, or enemies, depending on how you want to perceive them. The US Department of Justice, DOJ, they do enforcement. They pick and choose who they do enforcement with. Usually, when they go in, it involves a lawsuit, and they have supporting players, most notably the National Federation for the Blind, National Federation for the Deaf. University of Pennsylvania found out they were doing bad things, and it cost them a substantial amount of money. They had to change policies. The most recent one that DOJ has been involved with is with the University of Miami, and it's a case Dudley versus Miami, with Dudley and the Department of Justice versus University of Miami. It's Miami of Ohio. They are fairly aggressive when it comes to how they tell an organization they have to behave once they have been cited. We'll get around to some of that. The US Department of Education has the Office for Civil Rights. The difference between DOJ and OCR is that OCR has a mandate to investigate every complaint that goes their way. If I were to call up OCR office today and say, hey, I want you to come down to this university that I have no dealings with, but I've got a complaint because I know their website, or I believe their website is not accessible, they would have to investigate. But because of the funding and things, OCR can investigate everything going on campus. They don't have to stop at just the website. They could do a thorough investigation, sports, look at Title IX, just keep going and going and going. You don't want to have OCR coming in just because it's real pain. Even if you win, it's going to take hours and hours and hours and hours for people to put together all the information. So you want to avoid having that happen. WCAG 2.0AA. I'll show you a little bit more about that. But that's now the standard that OCR and Department of Justice use when they are looking at online courses, online websites. And I will reference that. I'll give you some more stuff for information about that. And then Universal Design for Learning. Some of you are familiar with Universal Design, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Universal Design for Learning. I think I missed something. Yeah, the slides. These slides are available. If you happen to be online and you really want to get them right now, slideshare.net, Raymond Rose, they'll be available there. You can get them. And part of what I do with these slides is, yeah, I'm talking about some of the stuff, but there are also references that I put there so that if you want to do some follow-up, there are things that you can do, and there are resources after the end are there. So, back to legal enforcement since 2007. This is not all of them. This is just to give you an idea of what's been going on. And I put a couple of K-12 ones up there. I didn't put everything. Literally, you know, I told you, I've got that stack of papers. But that will give you a sense. By the way, that's only page 1. There's page 2. So, institutions, Harvard, MIT, Berkeley, have all been involved and have been found to be bad. So, would they come here and find you being bad? No, you've got a pretty good group here with Fernando's crew. Francisco. Yeah, sorry. We don't want to give Fernando credit. But there are still things going on that they haven't caught and you need to be aware of. And the big change for you is the piece that I said early on. It doesn't make any difference whether you have a student with identified disability or not, folks. Your courses need to be accessible today. This is the operational definition that OCR uses. You can see I have cited it from some of their compliance reviews. And they use the same language all the time. I mean, you know, you look at these things and they're all, half of it's boilerplate. But students with a disability are able to acquire the same information and engage in the same interactions and within the same time frame. Not a week later, not a day later, in the same time frame as those students without disabilities. So if you need stuff captioned, don't wait. You now have a lot more captioning requests coming in. You have to have the things be accessible. Oh, jumped. In most of those reports, here are the things that I see as common. Number one issue is the lack of alternative text on all images. You're building your course, you're going along, and you say, oh, here's a pretty picture, and you put it in. If you have not put an alternative text tag on that appropriately describes that image is no longer accessible to people with screen readers, you are in violation. It takes 2 minutes more to put the alt text in, at the most. Failure to do it sets your course up as not meeting legal accessibility requirements. Why would you not do it? Because nobody told you. I'm telling you to, okay? How many of you post PDFs? Okay, change that. Don't do that anymore. There are 2 ways that you can save PDFs. PDFs can be saved as a picture, or they can be saved as optical character recognition. If you're not paying attention and you don't know the difference in what I said, there is a good chance that your PDFs are saved as pictures. Not accessible to somebody with a screen reader. What's a screen reader? A screen reader is a piece of software that takes and reads what's on the screen? Well, it can only read text. So if you have a PDF of a great piece of literature, I'm not saying this is a great piece of literature, but if you have a PDF of this, because you put it in the photocopier, you hit the button to make a PDF, and you got a picture, the screen reader comes along, and it says, graphic, it's no longer accessible to the student. Go ahead. What is it? Normally, that will be saved correctly. Word to PDF is normally okay. Now, here's the quick way to check. Anytime you've got a PDF, take your cursor and put it on the document and see if you can highlight a word. If you can select a word, that a screen reader can read it. If you click it on the PDF and the whole thing gets highlighted, you got a problem. Do not use that. Math people hate me. So much easier dealing with symbols if you do. Sorry. Lack of captioning. In one of the sessions, people were saying, well, if we just had somebody signing all of the videos rather than captioning, wouldn't that be okay? No, it's not. You need to have your videos captioned. Oh, YouTube has this wonderful feature, auto captioning. That's why Harvard and MIT MOOCs got cited for non-compliance, because it's very, very difficult to understand. Well, it's okay. Captioning, auto-captioning on YouTube works, and this is YouTube's official statement, 50 to 75% accurate, depending on content, depending on accent, depending on quality of the audio. If you just turn on auto captioning, and that's captioning, that is not accessible. That is not acceptable. That is in non-compliance. People get cited for that. However, having 50% of the captioning done for you is not a bad place to start. So you can take what auto captioning does and go in and do the captioning. By the way, just having a transcript for a video does not meet this law. Gee, son of a gun. But if you've got a transcript, it's so much easier to caption it. And some people recommend that if you're going to produce a video of you talking, you should have a script first. And if you have a script first, then that becomes your transcript. That becomes your captioning. And we have some people who will advocate that their videos come out much better than if they're talking about it just sort of off the cuff and haven't practiced. So, thinking about that. There's another one there. It gets to be interesting. You know, some students don't have the ability to use a mouse. They're manipulating around the screen without using a mouse. And if your video system is expecting somebody to be able to just use a mouse to turn things on, that might be a problem. One of the fun things I'll do when I'm just helping with training for accessibility is ask somebody to take and put the mouse in the drawer and manipulate in their course without using a mouse. You've got to be able to have a course that does that, or it's not accessible to some people. Data tables. There's an expectation on a screen reader that it's going to hit a data table and understand what the fields are. And if you don't structure your data table properly, you have a problem. And I'm not going to go into all the details on this. You've got people here who can take care of that and help you with those things. But if you're creating your own data tables, dropping them in, and you have not checked with Francisco's folks, do it. You know, same thing, labeled fields. But remember, this is from OCR non-compliance reports. This is what they see when they go in. So here's a cute one. 25% of males are colorblind. 25% of males are colorblind. Disability Service, unless you're very unique, does not consider colorblindness to be a disability. OCR, on the other hand, does. If you are not thinking about color contrast, you have a problem. How many of you have an Android phone? A few of you. Okay. There is an app that you can get for your Android phone. Sorry, it doesn't work. They just didn't do it for the iPhones. That will allow you to look at things, and it will show you what they look like with different types of color blindness. It can also do color blindness correction. If you're colorblind, and we've got a friend who is, we did that with, and it was, wow, you know, that's what it really looks like. So, you've got to think about contrast and color. And people have this tendency to also do something like, click on the red button. Huh? No. Don't click on the green button, click on the red button. No, that doesn't work. If you want to do that, click on the red triangle and click on the green circle. That can work. But you need to be thinking about students with a range of issues. So that's just the most frequently cited stuff. I mean, just about every single one of those reports has all those. How are you doing in your courses? If we hit on something that you might have a concern with? Sorry about that. This is the WCAG stuff, and I put it up there only because, as I said, this stuff is on the website. You can grab the slides and take a look at this in more detail. I'm not planning on talking a lot about it, but it gives you categories of perceivable, operable, understandable, robust that are now. This is what OCR uses when they go in. It's what Department of Justice uses when they go in and look at things. Oh, here's a fun one for you. And this was a K-12 story, but it has relevance. They went into a school system and were looking at courses. And in the report, they cited 1,200 videos that the teacher put in as resources outside the course that were not accessible. If you make links outside of your course, that does not absolve you from having links to things that are accessible. So just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean that you're clean. You make links to other resources. Some of those are probably PDFs, and they may not be accessible. Everything connected with your course has to be accessible. Okay. You all heard about universal design, right? Well, you start off with universal design required by Americans with Disability Act to make buildings accessible. So you got ramps, You've got easy to enter doors, things like that. Okay? So this principle, I'm not going to get into that. That's, yeah, you don't need to do that. But think about the changes that have happened in your life because of universal design. How many of you have suitcases with wheels on them? If there were not ramps, would they have produced suitcases with wheels? Or would you still be carrying them through the airport? Ramps meant it's easier for people to have wheeled suitcases. It means that streets and things are easier for baby strollers, for skateboarders. But it's changed the way people can live. It's also changed the way things get designed. So it helped a whole lot of people just beyond those who were in wheelchairs or on crutches who needed assistance. When we look at universal design in terms of education, we've taken universal design for learning to apply it to the learning situation. And universal design goes beyond just thinking about making something accessible for somebody with a disability to making learning more accessible for all students. So it's not to make it easier, it's to make the learning more accessible. One of the interesting things, how many of you watch videos with captioning on? Do you need captioning because you're having problems hearing? No. Okay? You're having captioning on because it makes it easier to understand what's going on the screen. So when you produce videos, why aren't they captioned? You know, when you show a video, why don't you turn the captioning on to start with? We discovered a project that I was doing a number of years ago was doing online teacher professional development, and we were doing it with videos. And this goes way, way back. But I had videos that were not captioned and captioned, and I was just doing demonstrations, and the folks who were looking at them said, wow, it's so much clearer to deal with that. They didn't realize they were reading the caption. So captioning doesn't get in the way. If people don't care about the caption, they don't read it. But you'll find that it is beneficial to lots of people. So finding other ways to present information, to giving students options, both in presenting the information and in having them demonstrate knowledge. Why does everybody have to demonstrate knowledge in the same way? Is it what you care about how they demonstrate it, or that they have the knowledge? By the way, universal design gets included in the Higher Education Opportunities Act. Just don't worry about reading it. So, multiple means of representation, multiple means of action, expression, multiple means of engagement. So there's a rubric. You know, hey, everybody's got rubric. I wanted to deal with this. I might need your help to hit the button. One of the things that I find difficult is sometimes understanding how the disability is. Go ahead, hit it. This is dyslexia simulation. Can you go full screen, please, when we get there? Connection's was a little slow earlier. Or do we have another window open somewhere that's got it, or is this it? Not responding, it says in the corner. There it is. You wonder what dyslexia looks like for some people. By the way, there are multiple issues with dyslexia, this is only portraying one. And talk to people who have dyslexia and they say, oh, that's how it works with me. And other people who say, that has nothing to do with it. But it's hard to understand some of these things. Can you make that bigger? I don't know if it's possible. Yeah, there you go. So this is a link. And I've got the link in the slides, so don't worry about it. You know, you can get that. So you're asking students to read online, and this is how they see the text that you've provided for them. It keeps changing, yes. But if they have a screen reader, the screen reader reads the text that's there, not what they see. I have a friend who is working on his PhD. He has never read a paper. Screen reader for every paper that he has to read. He has not disclosed to his university that he has a disability because he doesn't really have a disability as long as people who are creating the courses make the courses truly accessible. How many students do you have like that? You don't know because they haven't told you. But you may have some students who are in fact using screen readers that haven't told disabilities, accessibility service, sorry. They haven't told accessibility service that they have any issues, dyslexia, because they are in fact using a screen reader. But if they get into your course and your course has got PDFs that are pictures, they need help. But they shouldn't have to have help because you shouldn't have it as a PDF that's a picture. Okay, so that's back. Other stuff. Down. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so that gives you a sense. That's where I am. My blog will have the slides up next week, but you've got the SlideShare. The SlideShare stuff is already there. How are we doing on time, sir? Right on time, yes? Cool. 5 more minutes. Fine. Q&A? Okay, we can do a Q&A if somebody's got a question. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go with the toys. Oh, and just so you know, behind this, I said there's more UDL stuff. There are some other dyslexia simulations. Blindness simulator, that information, color blindness simulator, the WCAG information, PDF information, creating accessible tables, screen readers. Here's the Texas Administrative Code thing, just so you can see that Texas does have one. So that's all there, and I told you, that's why I put that stuff there. You got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Questions?
Question. Somebody got a question?
Who want to go first? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yes, it's a catch box, of course, but it's a microphone. So anybody want to ask a question? I can just...
You throw it at them.
It's
Who's
a
ready to ask
sponge,
the
so
question? Who wants to
won't
try
hurt.
it?
Anyone? There you go, Dr. Aziza.
Toss. Heads up.
Heads up.
I thought it was going to be heavy. Anyway, I need to be on record. I know I'm in trouble, but by listening to your lecture or your presentation today, my request here is we have our deputy provost here, we have Francisco. We need more help because I know that I am, and I was talking to Josie, they know me at the CDL, we teach completely online. There's stuff that I say, okay, I don't care about this, okay, for the icon for picture, but there are a lot I need to be done in my courses, and not only my courses, all our courses. So we need more people, I think. I need faculty, I can do it. I can do it. I know I am behind, but I can do it. We keep teaching.
20 more people?
The need for faculty to work with us in terms of accessibility. So that's what we call in this conference the Year of Access. So this is not going to end here. Accessibility activities will continue on, and you will hear more as we go through the conference. Yes, thank you. And you throw it.
Yeah, feel like Christmas. My question is, do you feel that we have the technology now to create accessible courses, or is there still a struggle to piecemeal this thing?
The struggle is in people's minds, not in the ability to create the courses. The place where we have a technical problem today is on webinars. Because if you're doing something live in a webinar, type, or synchronous video-based discussion, it should be accessible. There is not a tool readily available today that will automatically do speech to text quickly and rapidly. You'll notice on, you said you have captioning on. You notice on some newscasts, the captioning is really screwed up, and you see people backtracking and correcting because there's somebody live trying to keep track. There is a brand new piece of technology in the gaming world because gamers do a lot of chatting with each other, and so I monitor the accessibility folks in the gaming world, and there's some new tools to allow speech to text for people in the gaming world. That will eventually end up in places like Blackboard to enable live chat in an easy way. I do a conference with some folks every summer, and I usually have somebody doing live captioning as well as somebody doing live signing simultaneously. And this is a group that is committed to doing that. Now, the workaround for the time being is ask the participants if they need support. If you ask, though, then you have to be prepared to do something. But if you ask and nobody says they need support, you still might get cited up eventually, but you're in a much better position.
Right, but the idea is that the universal design concept is that it's already there. Nobody should have to ask you.
Well,
Right.
but if you made it so it was fully accessible, you wouldn't have that problem. But if you don't have it today, then asking to make sure that people can get access to it is the workaround that will help you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to catch the little box? Way over there. Can you get it to him? Yeah! Both on the throw and on the catch.
Can we try it again so I can do one hand? So I want to make a couple questions or comments. First, when you talk about universal design, the templates and stuff that they give us, isn't that on the first step toward doing that when you go on the Blackboard? Is that correct?
I don't know what they...
Yeah, it's quality matters.
Right. But then even when I started creating it online, you gave me like the forms or the templates to start working on. That's universal. At least I was thinking it like that. Is that correct?
It's moving in that direction. Clearly moving in that direction.
It does touch upon it because when the templates were created, they did have quality matters and universal design in line when they were created. Now it's not 100%, but it's working towards that.
I haven't seen anything that's 100% universal
Yeah,
design.
I haven't seen it.
But moving in that direction is going to help all your students.
Right. So, I mean, but you got to think about all the courses across. Every course that everybody teaches, they're not universal. They're never going to be. They're different content. They're different things like that all
Oh, you
the
can
time.
still do it in different content.
Right. So the second thing is, I don't think that comment earlier about needing more help is accurate. I don't like to ask for help actually, but every time I do, because I don't know how to do something, I ask my guys, I call Robert, and if he's not there, somebody else, and they all step up. I get phone calls back. They help me a lot with things, like putting groups together and stuff like that. So to say that they're, and now you're even doing the 24-hour thing, right? So I haven't used that yet, but
Thank
hopefully
you.
I never will. But it's nice to know that it's there. So I think you guys should basically have beds and just sleep there.
No, he needs more staff. Anybody else?
Somebody way over there, I really want to throw them. I'm not going to do that. My tendency is try to throw it to knock someone down.
I appreciate you not knocking me down. I link out to a lot of YouTube videos for the courses that I teach, and I wanted to know, is there a way for me to add captioning to those videos? Because some of them are like dissection techniques and things that are really well done.
Do you have Camtasia? Do you have the tools to do it? Okay, so they can. If you do not own, okay, and back there, we got multiple responses here. The short answer is, if you do not own the video,
Right.
you cannot go in and just caption the video itself. But there are tools around that will allow you to take a video and get an overlay of caption.
So that when they open it in my course, they have the caption.
They would have the caption.
Okay.
And they can tell you, they can help you. They have the power.
Yeah, and the voice capture thing, I can tell you may work really well for other people, but my voice is so high-pitched, and this is my natural voice, I apologize if anybody's ears are bleeding. Even Siri doesn't care what I say. It's like,
You need
no
to
voice.
practice speaking lower.
And I have to, when I'm talking to my car, I have to be like, call Terry. Sounds like, so,
You have a music program here? Anybody else? Can you get it to the back? Oh. Not willing to toss it. There we go. Yeah.
Okay, I really start worry about one thing. I have to spend a lot of times to make my teaching materials. All these PDF files, from the other softwares, and including my lecture videos. Now, it looks like it requires me to do more work.
Yep, definitely.
Frankly, I hate it. I don't have more time to do any more extra work to provide this online course material. I want to spend my time focusing on making more effective way teaching my material to students. So, is there any way that school, the university, provide, I think many people guessed that one already, but not from the instructor, but whenever we make this material, then they just hire maybe graduate students from the same the subjects, whatever, so they know what the instructor is talking about. So whenever we have images over there, I think it's easy to put all this text for that. All the captions, they could hear it. Using all these softwares, they could make this caption very easy way. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything at all, but I really wish they don't ask our instructor, our faculty, to do that types of work. I think it's really too much work for us.
2 comments.
Okay.
1, making things accessible will make it easier for the students to understand and learn. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, it is always easier to create a course and make it accessible from the beginning than it is to retrofit. And so understanding the issues, you can make things more accessible as you're building a course. Going backwards is major, major pain, expense, time. So the recommendation is to develop a process so that the new courses are accessible, that you're addressing the accessibility in the new courses, rather than going backwards and trying to make those things accessible, because some of that stuff is just impossible to do. Now, other colleges and universities, both in state and elsewhere, are in fact using grad students to help them build courses. And you can run, you know, I don't know what your structure is here for doing that, but doing the training of the grad students so they have a better understanding of what good course design is. Because the starting point, and you all here know this, you know, building an online course is not taking your PowerPoint and just putting it in Blackboard. There's a different pedagogy there. So you have to have, if you're having grad students do it, they have to understand that too. But then they can help, and there are places that are doing that. So it's not something that's out of the question. It may be out of the question here today, but maybe it's not out of the question here tomorrow. Yeah.
Is there a specific format for the picture text that you were just discussing before? If you have a photograph, a picture, you need to have text alternative?
Whatever platform you're using, when you create, when I put that image in PowerPoint, PowerPoint asked me if I wanted to have alternative text. When you're putting something in Blackboard, it's going to ask you if you want to have alternative text. The problem is if you ignore that, then when the screen reader comes along, it's going to say image. You can, in fact, make a piece of an image invisible. So if you're using eye candy, some people use eye candy. I don't recommend it, but eye candy is putting in pretty little pictures just to make the screen look pretty. You can make those invisible with alt text, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I want you to not have the eye candy. I wonder if I get feedback. No? Okay. I think we shouldn't subject these people to more of this. We should move on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raymond. So at this time, I would like to, don't sit down. I would like to recognize you and with the nice award also.
Oh, cool. Hey, good call. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Jessica, what do we have next? Sponsor announcement. Ruben?
The remote's over there.
Oh, there he is.
Good afternoon. Before we start the poster presentations, I'm going to ask some of our sponsors and vendors, Dave and Rita. We have Dave with Tegrity, and Rita, she's with Blackboard. They're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up in Blackboard and Tegrity. So.
Thanks, Ruben. So I'm from Tegrity. I'm here to help you. And I really actually mean that. I appreciate what Raymond had to say about the challenges that you all face every day. And we've been building Tegrity for a long time. And actually, you've had it here for a long time, almost a decade. We've been building it with accessibility in mind for a lot of years. 508 compliance, integration with third-party captioning services. But recently we've added an addition, and that is the automated captioning functionality. And so that's akin to what you see in YouTube. So it has similar levels of quality of the output. Now, in some of them, actually, I've been able to get some that get up to 90, 95% if the miking was very good. And so one thing that I would tell everybody is to make sure that when you're making a recording with Tegrity, you use a lapel mic. It's so important because machines have a lot of trouble dealing with picking out from ambient noise the noise that it's supposed to be translating into text. But we're going to make that even better because in next month's release, we're going to add in an editor for that closed captioning. So in the editor for Tegrity recordings, and maybe, well, how many here have used or are using Tegrity? Okay. I would hope that we'd see even more after Raymond's talk because it really is valuable. And if you can get 80 to 90% of that text already done for you, and then use the editor or find somebody who will use the editor to get the rest of it for you, that goes a long way towards making sure that that is an accessible offering. We've been working, making things accessible is something that is a process. It's not, okay, we're done, we finished it. Indeed, the standards change. The WCAGs and the VPATs, there's always, I don't know why there are 4-letter acronyms. Used to be that computer industry had 3-letter acronyms all the time. Like TLA was a 3-letter acronym or 3-letter acronym. So, so we're constantly working on that. And in fact, we just recently had a VPAT, that's Voluntary Product Accessibility Template, a VPAT audit, and we found some issues. And with that next month's release, we'll be dealing with the most difficult of those. And again, that's a continuous process. So I'm in the back here. I appreciate everybody that's come by to ask questions and to tell me. I'm especially interested in hearing your stories about how Tegrity has been able to help you and your students. But thank you very much.
Real quick, I forgot to also mention Rolando Garza. He's president for the Texas DLA. He has something that he's going to share as well.
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Good? Thank you so much, UTRGV. I'm the president of Texas DLA, Texas Distance Learning Association. Please come by our table, we got some information. But yesterday we made an announcement. Our 2017 prestigious awards nominees were, the email was sent out. And one of the awards nominees is here. So the award for outstanding commitment to excellence and innovation by an individual in the 4-year higher education is Dr. Ram De La Rosa. So stand up. Every year, this year we're celebrating our 20th anniversary in 2 weeks. We do have a research component and other information, but all year long we have the awards open. And again, this year is the 4 years for individuals, Dr. Ram De La Rosa. Again, thank you so much. Congratulations, Ram.
Hey everyone, my name is Rita Vela. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Customer Success Advocate from Blackboard for UTRGV. I also work with South Texas College, and I used to work here, so it's a lot of fun being here. And I also used to work at South Texas College, so I see a lot of familiar faces. And I'm getting confused. I'm like, is that an STC professor? Is it a UTRGV professor? So, but hi, it's nice to be back. I'm here just to talk a little bit about Blackboard. For those of you that know me, I cough all the time. So accessibility. So it's been really great to be here. Accessibility has been, kind of a hot topic lately, even though, it's something that we should have been, addressing for a very long time. And so at Blackboard, we want to make sure that this isn't an afterthought, but something that's present in minds while you're building your courses and things like that. I was at a conference a couple of days ago, and our VP of Teaching and Learning was there. And he made a comment about how, yes, it's the law. We have to do some of these things. For those of you that have seen in the news, there's been institutions that have gotten into some legal and financial problems because of this. But he said something that I thought was just, it's not just the law, it's the right thing to do. And so with that, Blackboard wants to focus on providing tools and services that help you all with accessibility. We're fully committed to delivering on this promise. We have an accessibility team at Blackboard that our product goes through. So if you're wondering why sometimes it takes a while for something to come out, it's probably because it's going through our accessibility team. And so we're building our new products, from the ground up, goes through our accessibility team. We go through that VPAT that Dave was mentioning as well. Our VPAT, we actually get a third party to do it for us. So it's not us just looking at our product and seeing if we're meeting the standards, but we actually hire somebody to come in and make sure that we're meeting the standards set by VPAT, or by the 508 section. Our products, we're trying to develop them with, different accessibility needs in mind. So screen readers, being able to zoom in and out, contrast, our collaborate system. Mobile Learn, our new Mobile Learn app is called BB Student. That is built with responsive design in mind. So when students are seeing your courses on different, an iPad or an Android or now an iPhone, they're just getting bigger and bigger, they won't see your content distorted. The mobile responsive design will help with that. Excuse me. We also have on help.blackboard.com, there's a lot of stuff on accessibility. You can go there, just put in a search for accessibility. These poster sessions up here are awesome. They have a lot of handouts with information about checklists on how to make your classroom more accessible, more inclusive. And then we have a new product coming out called Ally. And so Ally is a take on what Raymond was talking about, the A11Y, so we can be the cool kids. So Blackboard Ally is focuses on making digital content more accessible. And so what this does is when it's installed in a system at an institution, it runs a report, and it looks at all the courses and all the content to see how accessible or how not accessible things are. So you get an institutional report from the very beginning, shows you, percentage of these courses meet this, that you might need help here, but also at the course level. So you as faculty can go in there and see what items exist in my course already that I could use some help with meeting accessibility standards. And the really neat one that I like is it will automatically make alternative versions for you. So students can just click next to, let's say, a PDF. They can get electronic braille, they can get an HTML version, they can get an audio version. So lots of great stuff there. Faculty will also get little tidbits of information as to the why. Why is an alt text tag important? Why should you add it? And it'll come to the forefront. So it'll say, hey, this image doesn't have a tag. Do you want to tag it now? And you can go ahead and input that. So just some stuff that's coming up with Blackboard, again, where we're committed to delivering on helping you all out with accessibility. So with that, I'll hand it over to Francisco, who has an exciting announcement.
Thank you, Rita. Yes, going back to the Blackboard product and continue with our partnership, we're in the process. It's just that close to be contract signed to be an early adopter for Ally. So we're looking for, bravo. And
You're the closest one we have so far.
All right,
in the
okay.
System. So yeah, we're excited to partner with you.
Okay, so we're looking for volunteers to join our effort. There you go. We got one here. One, two. So there's a sign-in sheet on Blackboard table. So please, if you're interested on it, join us in the pilot.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Very excited about it. Thank you. And thank you all our sponsors for being here. Thank you. Sure, yeah.
So at this time, we'd like to invite everyone to actually look at our posters and visit with our sponsors. It's a great opportunity to sign up for the pilot program. Again, it's on the Blackboard tables if you're interested in that. And also, if you want to participate in our Year of Access Challenge workshop series, please sign up on the table over here as well. For the poster sessions, we do have evaluations, so we ask if you could pick them up. It's in the first cocktail table near George. So I don't know if George wants to point out the evaluations. So right near him, you can pick up the evaluations for the poster sessions as well, and then drop them off on the same table. So if you see too many people on one side, feel free to visit the other sides. Another thing that we forgot to announce is that we have a photo booth area too, so if you'd like to take pictures, please feel free to do so. Thank you. Oh, we'll be coming back at 2. There you go. aspects of accessibility in online education. The moderators for this session are Josie Stolzen and Elizabeth Samaron. We're going to ask the panelists to do a short introduction of themselves to introduce, and then also, again, please feel free to ask questions. I didn't see anyone move. Come closer.
They're afraid. It's like, I
Don't be afraid.
Don't make me.
I don't know. Turn it on.
Turn it
Maybe
on?
off. Yeah, there you go.
We should just start calling out people in the back. Professor Ashley. No, I'm just joking. I'm totally joking. Okay, so my name is Josie Stolzen. I recognize many of you, and I'm just going to go ahead and hand this over to Liz.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Samaron. I'm at the Brownsville campus, and I guess we're going to get started. Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and introduce, or have our panelists each introduce themselves and just kind of give us, for those of you who did not attend some of the sessions, if you'd like to just kind of give us a little bit of background. So I guess, Mr. Rose, if we want to start with you.
You've already heard me.
I know, but maybe for those who missed the lunch.
So, I've been doing online education for a long time, and before that, I've been involved in doing civil rights for a long time. And so let me just start off by saying that disability education is civil rights.
Hello, I'm Tanya Paulette, and I'm the Director of Student Accessibility Services here at the university. I've been with the office since 2014. My background is in public schools, where I worked as a licensed specialist in school psychology, and I've worked with persons with disabilities for over 20 years. And I'm really excited to be a part of this event today, and I look forward to seeing where it goes next.
Hello, my name is Leticia De Leon. I'm with the Teaching and Learning Department in the College of Education and P16 Integration. I've been teaching online too long, no, far longer than it was cool to do so. And so I've learned a lot from that experience, and I'm also a Quality Matters reviewer, which gives me an inside perspective on accessibility and other features that you can do or incorporate into your courses to make them not only accessible but more engaging and just be one of those courses that have that little seal of approval. And I have one course that has that also from Quality Matters.
Hi, I'm Susan Mills. I'm with the Writing and Language Studies Department. I have about 25 years of classroom teaching experience, but this is my first semester teaching online. So I'm having a lot of fun figuring all this out. And also, I have a daughter who has dyslexia, so I have special interest in, it's very exciting to see where the direction this is going. She's 11 now, and I hope that when she's in university, it will be no problem at all. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So let me ask a question, just to start. So you've got a Quality Matters seal on your thing. Did you know that meeting the Quality Matters standards doesn't ensure that your course meets full accessibility?
I only start there, yes. That's where I start, but that's not where I end.
All right.
Yes, for those of you who are not very familiar with Quality Matters is
a minimum standard.
Yeah, it uses a rubric in order for you to assess your courses to see at what level of quality assurance there's in. And yes, like Mr. Rose said, even though you meet Standard 8, which has the accessibility standard in there, it doesn't mean that you're in compliance with the law. So you can use it as a starting point, but not as an end point in that sense.
And if you haven't done a Quality Matters run through on your course, you should. It will make your course better.
Yes, I agree.
And you'll learn a lot in the process. And it's always nice to have that seal. And eventually the university will get to the point where they'll give you extra money for having that seal.
Way to motivate.
Oh, you didn't say that? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, in that case, can I develop 2 courses? But yes, just to kind of piggyback off of that, we do have a poster in the front in regards to Quality Matters, in which we do provide COLT is Quality Matters, well, UTRGV is a Quality Matter subscribing institution, and we have almost all of our staff certified as facilitators for QM. So we do offer sessions in QM certification. I believe the next one coming up is March 23rd? 20th is the online, thank you. Sorry, I'm horrible without my calendar. But let's just go ahead and open it up. I know a couple of people posted on our parking lot over there. Does anyone have tips for captioning videos? We can either open it up to the audience, or maybe the panelist has some questions or anything like that. If not, I have a list of questions we can go by. Interaction, come on, people.
As a starting point, you've got the captioning people back there.
Yes.
And you've got that service as part of your services available, so that's a great starting place. And you can refer all these folks to it because you understand it.
Yes, we are lucky that we do have Integrity here. That's one of a starting point. We also have Caption Sync. Joseph has here.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You do because they're recording it.
This will be the only time I ever get to throw something at his head.
Don't hit the orange juice.
I'm horrible.
Please don't hit the orange juice. All right.
Didn't even have to move my hands. Nice shot. Okay, I'm Joseph Rutledge. I manage the online learning help desk here at the Edinburgh campus. And right now we have a contract with Caption Sync, who will caption our online videos. So if you have a course that has online, if you have an, I should take that back, an online course that has any kind of videos on there, we have the funding to get those captioned. Now the issue is captioning is kind of expensive, as anybody who's captioned knows. So if it's not an online course, we cannot get that caption for you. But you should have be able to have, if at your department level, they should be able to get you a TA or a graduate assistant or somebody to help you do that if you can't do that. But if it's an online course, we do offer that service. If it's integrity video, if it's just your own personal video, if it's a YouTube video that it's somebody else's and you want to use that one, we can actually use the Caption Sync player to overlay on that YouTube video so you're not breaking any kind of copyright laws. So if it's an online course, we can help you with that. Just contact our help desk. There's a poster over there that shows you how to create a support ticket in 5 steps, so you can actually use that. Oh, yes? I would have to run it by the people who actually are developing the course with you, but I'm not sure who you're developing it with. But they would, but we could, if it's for an online course, then yes. Yeah. It's for the whole course because the whole course, the videos in the course have to be captioned. So every video you have, we have to caption it. And as I said before, we have all that funding put aside for that. So if you have an online class and you have videos in there that are not captioned, you need to let us know so we can get those captioned for you. As we were saying earlier, it's the law. Anything we put online, our website, if you have your own website, the school's site needs to be accessible. So anything that we have online has to be accessible. So if you have a video in an online course, those need to be accessible. Those need to have captions. Once again, even if it's not an online course, it's a good idea to get those all captioned. Yes. About how long does it take to get? It's 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 business days.
Depends on how long your video is, though.
Actually, we have it's in the contract 2 or 3 days. So yes, but yes, that's a good idea. That's a good thing to keep in mind.
Good point. Captioning services, do you differentiate between who gets the priority? Fully online courses, web enhanced courses, the hybrid courses? Who
as long as whoever asks for it first. I do them as they come to me. If you have Integrity Video, there's a thing in Integrity right now where you can just select a recording option and request a caption. That will request a caption, but it doesn't let anybody know, so you still got to create a support ticket or contact our help desk and let us know, hey, I have Integrity Video that needs to be captioned. Can you go ahead and just approve that for me? And we can do that. Yes?
Can we assume that the videos done by the publishers are influenced?
No.
No.
No. And just to let you know also, any PowerPoints that you get from them, any documents you get from them, you would want to verify those first because you're not 100% sure that those are.
By the
And
way,
sorry that I'm taking over your
No,
panel.
you're fine. You're fine. You're good. That's people are asking questions. Let me just piggyback on that. Technically, you need to review any materials before you purchase it to make sure that it is accessible, because the minute you purchase it, you become responsible.
Yes.
The way the law reads, the publishers don't have that responsibility. And so I did hear that there is a process for looking at the technology to run it through an accessibility check before you purchase it. But if you've purchased stuff before that was in place, then you could have stuff that's evil. And you don't want to have stuff that's evil.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to let you know, we've had instructors who have requested accessible, like I'm not even saying it right, documents or PowerPoints that are accessible from a developer. So not from a developer, from a publisher. So you may want to do that. You may want to see if you already have a book, you may want to contact them and ask them, is it accessible? If not, can I get some that are? Or can I get a PowerPoint that is? Can I get a test bank or whatever you want to use that is? Whatever you use from that publisher. If they have videos, the best way to do it is to look at it. If it's got a little CC button that you can click on, that the captioning comes on the player, then you know what it is. But it may not have a transcript, so we may need to get a transcript for you in that case. If it's not at our office, the Student Accessibility Services with Tanya can help you guys out. So I know I've worked with Ray. I don't know if he's still here.
No, he stepped out.
yeah,
I was going to
so-
follow up. Thank you, Joseph, because if it is not an online class, for those of you who are thinking, I don't have all my classes online, and there's a student in your course who has the accommodation for caption videos, that can be our notification for our office, and we will support that. And again, the timeline, the sooner the better. Our resources are limited for that captioning. We have very limited number of staff who are able to do that, so the sooner the better.
One more word of caution. If I'm correct, we also have to make sure that any websites we link have to be accessible also.
Right. By the way, salespeople lie.
Yes.
So when you ask them if they're accessible, they may not know. I have fun. I go to conferences and I say, hey, gee, that's interesting. Is it accessible? Of course it's accessible. Gee, can I take a look at it? So you can't depend on just a statement. But folks, before we're talking about the VPAT, which is this voluntary report, ask for a copy of that. Of course, sometimes, some organizations, the VPAT is filled out by the marketing folks and they lie. But overall, we're seeing that the VPATs are being filled out more and more accurately. So ask for the VPAT and they can help you with that too.
Any other question? No? Okay, I know that for Dr. De Leon, she hasn't answered much. No, just kidding. That you mentioned that you start with QM, right?
I do, yes.
Okay, so I have a question for you. It says, when developing your course, what considerations do you keep in mind in regards to accessibility?
Okay. Well, I know that, a lot of the things that what Mr. Rose said in his presentation were just kind of check for me. But, I had mentioned earlier that QM is only a starting point because it's a minimum requirement of basically just, it amounts to, do you have alt text, do your videos have captions? I also ask myself whether it's accessible to people with challenges of mobility. with people who have challenges viewing contrasting colors, like color blindness, and basically how easy it is for somebody to use. I've tried using sometimes test if I can navigate exclusively on my keyboard, and it's hard. You know, it's very difficult, even when you do your best to do that. So you know, those are the things that I kind of asked myself. So when I add external links, when I embed documents, like I do use PDFs, but the PDFs that I use, let me quantify that. I start in Word and I do an accessibility check. I go through the entire process. If the Word document is accessible, when you convert to PDF, it will be accessible. And when I select it, it doesn't highlight the entire page. And it's including if there's an image in there. So I always go through that process. So if you already have handouts that you've created that, you know, before, then it will be more difficult. And I think there was a gentleman that mentioned in the back earlier about it's going to be more work. Then yes, it is. But if you start, and you mentioned that same thing, with that, it doesn't take the accessibility check in both in Word and PowerPoint. By the way, if you didn't visit those posters, they're excellent. It doesn't take you a minute to do it. And not only that, it doesn't just tell you this is not accessible, this is not accessible. It tells you how to fix it. Yeah. And it's very, very quick. So I always do that, you know, in addition to. And any external links that I do, I always check to make sure they're accessible. I don't typically use like Prezis because they're intensely unpleasant for accessibility. They look fancy, but they're not accessible unless the presenter made it a point to make it accessible. And so I don't use Prezis anymore as a rule of thumb, unless I find one that somebody made an effort.
And people like to spin Prezis, which causes all sorts of other issues.
Yeah, and their auto transcription on there, by the way, because they claim that it's auto transcription, is a mess. You try auto transcribing it, and it won't make any sense to you. So it's kind of like the YouTube auto caption. Doesn't work. So those are the things that I keep in mind when I link, and when I link in particular, and I know that for people who don't have the challenges other people have, this is a nuisance, but link it so that it lands in the same page. I know we like our new tabs opening up because it doesn't disrupt our current page, but as a result, you're causing an extra move to somebody who may not have a mouse that easily navigates between tabs. So it's just a matter of putting a little notice in there, either tell them this page opens up, you know, in a different tab, or this page opens up here, just click your back button to return. Very, very easy. Now, it doesn't take 10 seconds to do.
So when you said you know that when you have an external link, you go and check to see it's accessible. How do you know that those external links are accessible?
There are tools, including free readers that you can install yourself. You don't have to have site issues to do that. I trained somebody who's an expert in web accessibility, who knows all of those, on how to develop an online course, because she wanted to teach it to somebody else, but she's not a teacher. So I learned it was a reciprocal relationship. Let's say she opened my eyes to a lot of things, including free readers that you can install on your own machine just to check it. And it will, believe me, it will shock you. Kind of like when the reaction you all got when you saw that dyslexia page, that's the way you're gonna feel. It's like, oh my God. So, yes, so I do use those things in addition to that.
That was the lead into.
Yeah.
We have a question, and we have a question in the back, and by the way, if you ask a question, we're giving away these new, what are water bottles? Or
so what about if we answer one?
I asked a question.
Dr. De Leon, I have yours in the back now.
Well, actually, this question is for you. You had mentioned the free readers. At Texas A&M Kingsville, where I work, part of my role is going to be training our faculty on how to make things accessible and to check them. What free readers do you suggest I recommend to them for ease of use?
Well, first of all, get the free ones. And Mr. Rose gave you a link in his slideshare, by the way, that has a long list of them. The ones that come from WebAIM are really, really good. But it really depends on your style, I'd say. But, gosh, that's a good question. Right now, I can't think of the name.
So as a starting point, depends on which browser you use.
Yeah,
I have Chrome and I have Firefox as my two main browsers. Both of those have plugins. so that I can go to a page, which is what Letitia was just talking about. Go to a page and click, and I can get a report. And one of them is the one that I use in Chrome, I believe, is the WebAIM one. And so those are nice because no matter what page you're on, behind a password or anything else, you just click on it and it produces a report. And so I have used those things for my city's power websites too, and then I send them the report.
We have another question back here, and then I guess we'll go with Dr. Samrani. So Dr. Dietrich?
Just missed it.
Oh, Mr.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't teach fully online. I use Blackboard to augment my classes. I teach computer science, so sometimes I explain programs on the board, and then I post them on Blackboard for my students to review them. So how about those courses in which you don't teach everything online? It's not even a hybrid, I would say. It's just barely to augment. Instead of providing them a piece of paper, I post PDF or the program itself on Blackboard. So what is the situation in that case?
Do you remember the definition that I have, the operational definition from OCR for accessibility? Be able to get the same information at the same time and that stuff. That's the application. That's what OCR is going to be looking at if they were to come in. So if your material, you're only providing it online and it is only in one format and it's a PDF that's not accessible, you don't meet the requirements.
Dr. Samrani?
Yes. Okay, I do have a lot of homework for this weekend. That's what I will do, definitely. So I'm glad that I came to this conference, and thanks to the accessibility office, because that's the first thing I received this morning. I say, okay, this is the time for me to go to this conference. So I will go to my office, and then I will download the readability, whatever, the app, the free app. So that means I have to go to each module and do that, or can I just on my course? How? So that means for each segment of your course, you have to do the test?
Each page.
Page by page.
So if you're, when you put a reader on an LMS, a learning management system like the one we use on Blackboard, brace yourself.
So, wait,
yeah.
you should sign up for Ally.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Because that's gonna make your life easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the meantime, actually, when we started, and I mentioned that to my colleague from the Center for Distance Learning, and Letitia, she was with us when we did the Quality Matters and everything. We were well advanced, but we learned from each other. The accessibility, for me, I was more concerned about the design, the course, the learning style. That was, and we have an accelerated program. So today, and I went to conference, I'm a Quality Matters course reviewer. I know I can do my course evaluation. I know where I'm fine. But now I can do my homework before I have the CD.
You understand, given the QM training, you understand the basics on accessibility. So when you look at something, you'll have initially a quick understanding. If you get one of the WebAIM things, it's 2 seconds. Well, depends on your connection. Okay, it might take a little long, but it'll generate a report, and you'll know. And it's like, when I look at them, the number one thing it'll say 13 errors, and then you can see what they are, and it will mark where they are on the page.
Yes, it will.
So you can decide whether or not to use that page, if it's something that you want to do an external link to. But if it's evil, recognize that you are taking a risk when you put that in, because your students will not be able to, some student will ultimately have problems accessing it.
Is there an average of mistakes that can be?
No. Office for Civil Rights, in the West Coast Office for Civil Rights, I believe, and just based on their reports, they put out 11 non-compliance reports to basically public schools, but also the State Department of Education in 2 states on their website. I believe that what they did was they took one of these tools and just went to 2 or 3 pages on the site, and they came up, because most people aren't going to pass. And then they sent a letter that said, you are in non-compliance. You can either, we're about to investigate you, ta-da. Everybody settled, but it took some effort. There's risk.
Decided not to throw this anymore.
Wimp. Throw it.
You did such a good job the first time.
Is there a program in the university? I know there are state and national regulations, but does the university has a program for auditing the faculty on accessibility?
That's an excellent question. I don't think I have an answer to that.
I deserve that one.
Our office does it on a student-by-student basis, I would say. So if a student that is registered with our office comes to us and says, I'm not receiving my accommodation for caption videos, for example, or whatever other accommodation there might be, then we address that on a case-by-case basis with that faculty member. But as far as university-wide, that's not something I'm really familiar with.
By the way, just let me just
would like to
piggyback.
share something. Go ahead. I have a quiz at the beginning of the semester just to check that my students are reading the syllabus. And one of my questions is, where do you go for, because it seems only the students that have these disabilities are the ones who know what you guys do and what we are supposed to do as a faculty members. But the rest of the students seems to be like unaware of, and also as a co-workers, as a team members, because I do have people with disabilities, and I do have implement team, a lot of team projects, and I have noticed that we can do a lot of stuff to help them, but it's not an awareness. It's not, for the whole campus. That's what I was asking about, auditing not only our online programs, but the whole, signage, and I think, but that's my perception. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me just say real quickly to that, we do a lot of outreach and directly to students. We have started increasing our outreach to faculty, this being one of those opportunities, within the past year or so. We've recognized the need to do that. And I'm very happy about that opportunity as well. Every time that opportunity arises to communicate what we do at our office, we gladly take that opportunity, because not only does it inform faculty, but also students when we have that opportunity to do that. The other thing, though, I think that we're trying to communicate, and this is another opportunity to do that as well, is to make sure that everybody understands the importance of that universal design for learning, the flexibility in the course design, because you're reaching a greater number and variety of student learners. With that being said, the other point I just wanted to make, though, is that students with disabilities do not always feel comfortable registering with our office. There's lots of stigma, and I have to say, probably in this area as well, specifically, we have students tell us that. They have family members saying, really negative things about having a disability. So we realize that that's a challenge, and it is something we try to address throughout all of the outreach that we do. But also, it's not a requirement for students with disabilities to register with Student Accessibility Services. It's not a requirement. So making courses accessible really is the key.
So one of the things that you said early on, and I just want to pick up on it, because you talked about a student who requested an accessibility, and then maybe the faculty member didn't quite respond appropriately. And let me tell you that that's where the lawsuits come in.
Yes.
Don't ever do that with a student.
Yeah. Thank you. He just made my job a lot easier. That's a good point.
Great.
Time and a half on a test. So you have a 1 hour test, they can take an hour and a half. Don't give them 2 hours.
Right.
No, don't. I mean, I've had some instructors who, oh, just do a little bit more. Okay. No, don't do that because it's going to make them feel, it's the opposite of not doing it. You're overdoing it to them. You're actually making it, yeah, it's like you're singling them out. So always follow what's on that paper. If you have any questions, you can contact our help desk or contact the student accessibility service.
Okay, so I have a question related to the disability. I teach in the Bilingual and Literacy Studies department, and so I have had students that share with me that they are dyslexic. It was more so in the face-to-face classes, but now as we've started with UTRGV, we're tending to do much more of the online. So they have gone to the disabilities office for assistance, but there is special testing that needs to take place. It isn't what they had from their K-12.
IEP. So I see where you're going. It's an excellent point. We do require documentation of a disability, but we will accept something K through 12 if there is nothing else available. Not all universities will do that, though, I will say that. But if it's a disability that is lifelong, such as dyslexia, and there's evidence of that, and the other part of that process is the interactive process that we have with the student, we ask them lots and lots of questions about where do you have the most problems in your courses, how do you do with your reading assignments, how long does it take you, what technologies have you used to assist you, and so we're really investigating what that student's particular needs are. All of that information taken together will provide justification for the accommodations. So that is part of the process. So if a student says, oh, I haven't been tested, haven't really done anything with that since 5th grade, they still can come see us, because there may be other evidence that we're able to determine from meeting with that student that would provide justification for those accommodations. That wouldn't be the case with every disability, but that one in particular, we do see that often.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other part of that question is, other than the screen reader, is there other type of adaptability for students that are dyslexic? And I don't know who might be able to.
Audio.
Yes.
The audio
Audiobooks.
The audio.
And so if a student is registered with our office, we have resources to help them receive those audiobooks.
Great to know.
So if they have an iPad, you can turn on the accessibility tool on the iPad, which will read the text, any text that's there. So Macs have them. Windows machines have them. There are a lot of tools available if you just look at the accessibility features for the particular operating system that they've got.
I was just wondering, with the YouTube videos, with the captioning, the problem that I have with my online class, I'll post a video, something that I want them to watch, that like a previous television broadcast or something, but then the user always takes it down, or they say there's been a copyright infringement, they take it down. So you've spent all the time doing the closed captioning, and then it's taken down, so I have to go find another version of it and like redo the captioning, or how would that? Yeah. Every semester I have to. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There's one thing I want to add to that, because I know that kind of becomes a problem as well for YouTube videos, is check the person that created the video. If it comes from, like if it's a broadcast of a a television show or something like that, it needs to have been posted by the company that produced that video. If somebody else ripped it off of their website, then it is illegal.
Yeah.
And so watch who put it up there. Especially usernames are big, when you look at the username and I don't want to say some of the things I've seen on there, but it's credibility is kind of shot there. But that's one of the things that I tell my students also when I ask them to search credible sources. So there's two sides to that, not just that video might be potentially pulled down off of your website or you can't use it anymore, but it's also the issue of copyright infringement.
And if it is a broadcast video, it would have been captioned, because we haven't
Yes.
talked about that, but there are laws requiring video broadcast things to be captioned. So it may be that you just didn't notice that the CC was there. And yeah, I'm just, so that there's that as well. So a lot of those things do carry captions, and they're not auto-captioned.
And real quick on that, if something gets taken down and it's like a national broadcast or something like that, if you contact the library, they may have access to that. So to where you don't have to rely on a third-party source or something like that, they may have access to an old video, an old article, or things like that, that you don't have to, that it may have already been checked for whether it's accessible or anything like that. You're welcome.
Okay, I believe Professor Dietrich had one, and then Liz, right? So Professor Dietrich? And, okay.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can answer this, because basically this is about online stuff. But going back to what I said, since let's say I augment my things, my classes by using Blackboard, what about the stuff that, suppose if I print something out, are there also regulations about that, like we have for the websites? And
I think that goes back to the individual learner. Again, if it's a student that would be registered with Student Accessibility Services, and if they have a particular need for print materials, then we would be addressing that through our office, and we would just ask the instructor to provide those materials in advance so that we could do whatever alternate format is needed. So it might be enlarged font, it might be Braille, there's a number of things.
okay. And one suggestion, if you don't mind, I do love my students. I always tell them that when I see them, I see my children, so I do. And today, thanks to Dr. Lewis, I learned a lot about deaf people, and that opened up my eyes very big. I didn't imagine certain things. So I think the school should have some workshops or stuff like that with people like her that can provide us all those insights, so that when we do have a student like that, we can provide them the best service that we can. Thank you.
Today I learned a lot about regulations to put these informations over there, especially for deaf people. But do you have any regulations for like a color-blinded students? Because I had one, and she kind of had difficulties to see different colored text. Actually, I put that color for emphasizing something, but actually she cannot see that. So she requires only black colored ones. So I had a trouble with that. So do you have any that types of regulation, like you shouldn't put red colors over there or yellow colors over there or something like that, or it's still just
I can offer one piece of advice, not on the non-regular, although you did mention that only certain places require it, to do multiple formats, not just color, but italics and bold, or different font. And that gives them several signals.
Yeah, it's multiple.
Yeah.
The other thing that I recently suggested to a faculty member who had the same question about a student who was colorblind was that the student was required to label, and I think through using color, a particular figure. I think it was for an anatomy class. And so what we talked about is not requiring them to use color to do that, to designate those individual parts that were to be identified, but to do it in another way. There's another way to label. And it was small, so maybe writing the entire description of what was to be labeled wasn't appropriate there, but there's lots of ways to be creative about that.
Well, if it's online, clearly the OCR practice says that you have to make it accessible. If it's a face-to-face situation, then we're back to whatever happens in terms of accessibility services. but you've got as well, and I'm going to play this one out, you've got 504 that you have to comply with. And so that means that you have to have things to provide services for students with disabilities. And though accessibility services may not yet consider color blindness a disability, it does in fact fall within that from the federal perspective. So yeah, you got to play the game.
So my question is, I haven't heard anything today about temporary disabilities and where they fall into this whole conversation.
I'll address it. We do provide temporary accommodations, and if that's what you're talking about, so students who have injuries that we know are time limited, a fracture, a broken wrist, or something like that that will keep them from being able to write notes in class, for example, or write essay exams. Those students should be referred to our office with proper documentation. We'll provide temporary accommodations for them. It could be a number of things. In those cases, it might be a volunteer note taker, it might be audio recorders, there's speech to text software. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we would implement for that student, even on a temporary basis.
Okay, I know that Ms. Mills has been quiet.
Yes, I have.
So I have one question for you.
I'm listening and learning.
I know you have a lot of experience on teaching. You said this is your first year teaching online. So I have a question for you, and this is going to be for general. So how can faculty design course general topic and accessible?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
No,
Oh,
there
they
was
couldn't
a
hear me. Okay, we'll
question.
repeat the question.
The battery's going on that one.
Oh, yeah. I think, can you all hear me? Okay. Once again, this is for Susan Mills. How can faculty design courses to be appealing to the general population and accessible to students with cognitive difficulties?
Okay, thank you. Now you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, when I first started looking at this and I went through the QM training and then the first universal design and learning training, what I was really fascinated by was because I'm aware of visual, auditory difficulties that we need to be making, we need to make sure it's accessible, but the cognitive difficulties, and again, I'd mentioned that I have a daughter with dyslexia, so I was pleased to find out that the links that are being gone to provide accessibility for ADHD, dyslexia. So I really started looking into that. How can we make our courses more accessible for students with cognitive difficulties? And what I really see this as a win-win-win situation because I have, like I said, about 25 years experience. Elizabeth and I, in fact, started out in the Learning Assistance Center many years ago. So went through a lot of training about learning styles, multiple intelligences, and that was when I first started designing courses. I was a new teacher. So this kind of took me back to that. It's not that we necessarily have to do anything different than what we should be doing anyway. It reminded me the importance of providing multiple means for students to express themselves, to receive information. If we're providing something in a written form, if we have audio, if we have visual, if we try to present that information in as many different ways as we can, which is the point of universal design for learning, then I think we've taken great steps. We're almost all the way there, right? I mean, in doing that, so it's a win for the student who is concerned with accessibility issues. It's a win for every student. Last night I was looking up some material to make sure I knew what I was talking about today. And I tell you, it was in the wee hours of the morning, and I was really tired, and I saw a little arrow that I could click on and have the article read to me. And my eyes were tired. I'd had a long day, and so for me, I closed my eyes and let the computer read it to me. So ADHD, students don't want to watch a long video. How many of you want to watch a long video? No. So I think a lot of it is common sense in providing accessibility to the students who need it, but to all students. So the students win, all students win, and faculty wins also because we will be designing a better course overall, whether there's a student in the course that needs the accessibility or not. It'll keep us mindful that we need to present different ways deliver information, and different ways that students can express their learning. You know, let them act it out, or let them, you know, make a video. It doesn't always, and I'm an English teacher. This is coming from the writing and language studies. So, you know, I mean, I lived in this world of black and white. It's paper, it's typed, you turn it in, and it's really exciting that we can see ways that students are learning. They can express that in other forms. It makes a more diverse class. A more diverse class is going to be better learning for everyone. That's
I teach legal studies online, and students turn in a legal document based on a scenario, and when I correct those documents, I track changes, and then returning them. And what I'm thinking now is, I'm probably not grading them correctly, or do I need to provide feedback in another manner? They turn in a Word doc.
Track changes will work.
Track changes, it's a highlighting. I'll go through the document, I click on track changes, and then it'll make in red the changes that they should have on that
Track
document.
changes would be accessible.
Well, I was looking at this little handout I got with Word document don'ts, and it said don't use track changes on document don'ts, and I'm concerned now.
Guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, yes, it says track changes is an inaccessible document.
On that, let me see, where's Christina?
Maybe it depends on how it's being displayed on the
Yeah.
screen, because it can be a pop-up or it can be
Yes,
in line.
it
can be
depends
different
on
color.
the individual software, because, you know, they vary from years. For example, 2013, anything from 2007, 2010. Some of them tend to be like little pop-ups. Pop-ups tend to not be accessible. A screen reader wouldn't be able to read a pop-up, which is why, for example, floating text boxes, floating images, and all that, because in essence, that's kind of what it is if it's a floating track change. And let's see. Here you go, Christina.
Yeah, some track changes are not accessible, and I was just looking that up to make sure because I remember reading that. But apparently the JAWS reader does, and it depends on, it says the only catch is the track changes button under the review tab has to be turned on. If it is turned off, JAWS will read all the text without announcing what has been added or deleted.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, because you can hide track changes, and they could be there but hidden. Yeah.
So JAWS is one of the screen readers. They have 75% of the market, basically. And I assume you have JAWS here so that you can demonstrate the use of it. There's NVDA, which is a free screen reader, which is not quite as powerful as JAWS, but it has some interesting features that JAWS does not have. And you could load it on your own computer and have it there too, just to see what it would do. But you could have some fun with some students doing some JAWS demonstrations so that people would get a sense of what the screen reader does, because to see somebody who's using a screen reader who's familiar with it, you won't be able to understand what the screen reader is saying because they have it set so fast. But to have them slow it down and show it, then you get an understanding of what the screen reader can really do.
And just to add on, we will change that put that little disclaimer that it depends on also the software on there, so thank you for catching that. But to add on to, for example, I know that SAS has JAWS available so that faculty can come in and as well as students. Colt will also provide that assistance as well. I believe Francisco, our director, has given the okay for us to purchase JAWS and install that in each campus. So if you are in the Brownsville campus or in the Edinburgh campus, feel free to stop by and we can assist you with that as well. Of course, we also work with SAS quite closely because it's like hand in glove. So if for whatever reason we can't figure it out, we'll be like, Tanya, can you help? Or Ray. So any other
questions?
I was just going to add, I'm sorry, that the library also has a version of that available. I'm not sure what their current version is for JAWS, but students can just go to the library and access that as well, and I suppose faculty would be able to in the same case.
Is that also available for faculty and staff?
I believe so. I mean, you can access that, and certainly if you want to schedule a time to come see a demonstration at our office, we could do that too.
No, but I mean, if we had a faculty or a staff person who needed JAWS,
It's yes, they would be able to have that available to them. That is something, though, that would have to go through HR if it's not something that the person already has for themselves.
They would have to have it. It would have to be provided. Where it gets provided remains to be
Yeah.
seen, but yes, it would be required.
Professor Gunn, Dr. Gunn, did you have any?
I'm just asking about the access that we would have to that particular reader program. So if I wanted to check my documents for compliance, I would have to go to COLT or the Accessibilities Office or the library to check that for compliance.
Well, it depends on the screen reader that you're choosing to use. So as we mentioned earlier, there are some that are free for download, available online, like NVDA is one that I know. And really, which one you use is a matter of personal preference. That's what we hear from our students who use them too. So you can download something for free, or you're welcome to come to our office or use one of the other resources.
But just looking at it in a screen reader is not going to tell you whether it's truly fully accessible.
No, but I meant for like the track
Accessibility
changes.
But yeah, but you can test things with one of those.
One of the other ones, okay.
Recognize that even the WebAIM kinds of things that we were talking about before that are included in the browser do not do 100% of testing, because the things you can't test are things like mouse overs. Mouse over, you move the mouse over something and it
Loading
pops
text,
up. That can't be tested with the sort of tools that are there. That is inaccessible, because you've got to, as I mentioned, you've got to be able to maneuver around the course without a mouse. It's all very complicated.
Well, no,
It is.
okay, so anything that's a pop-up is inaccessible.
Anything with a pop-up is
Basically.
not going to be accessible to a screen reader, basically.
Okay.
So here's a thought, because people aren't, about 20% of the people in this room today have a visible disability. If you look around, okay, just recognize that people have issues. A number of you do. You start thinking about it from that perspective, it may help you. And here's another thought, whether you like it or not, that most of us hope to be disabled at some point before we die.
Interesting.
Most people want to reach some form of disability before they die. As you die, you become more and more disabled as you get older.
Yeah.
You don't want to die right away.
We live long enough to be disabled.
So I've got a question for you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Are you providing preparation for your teacher and teacher ed program to teach online?
Okay, hold on, I'm not sure I understand the question. Like, am I training people in my department?
You do teacher preparation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you help those students
No.
to teach online? No. Okay.
No.
So then the obvious question is then you can't include accessibility.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
there's, well, without
No,
revealing all the drama, it's technology is slow in kind of creeping in, and so, and K-12 teachers are using online more and more. It's the professor side that is slower in
Okay.
reaching.
We don't need to do that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna stop there.
Yes. Sorry.
But good point.
Mr. Rose, you said that if you put a link that will take you to a place that is not accessible, that would be, that is not, it's a no-no. What if that is the only place where the students can find certain type of information?
Find another place.
If there is no other one, is there a way for you to say at least a disclaimer, this is...
Make it accept, you go and create a site to provide that information. What I am telling you is what the Office for Civil Rights did, okay? That, see, I don't make these things up. You know, if I made it up, it would be different. No, this is based on an OCR non-compliance report, which is in my folder, and, you know, but they went and followed, and this is the scary part. They followed over 1,200 links that were external to the course and cited 1,200 links as not being accessible. So they made it pretty explicit there that they expect those links to be accessible because it's part of your course. If you make a link outside, but it's from your course, you're saying, go there, that's part of your course. That's the same thing as having it inside the course, inside Blackboard. So that falls under that general requirement. And if that's the only site, then you've got to figure another way to convert it. Now, you said you're a computer science teacher?
Yeah.
Have some of your students put together that information on another site.
Code it differently.
Yeah. But then you can't use it. I mean, that's, you know, yeah, don't violate copyright.
Exactly.
I'll have Professor Gunn
I would like to add
repeat
something
that.
else to that as well, to the website accessibility. A lot of times, if you're looking for external resources, there's certain organizations that are required by law to make their websites accessible. Start with them. Nonprofit 501(c)s are required by law to put anything online accessible. So if you have no organizations, if some of your resources come from, you know, some of those, they're more likely to, doesn't necessarily mean that all of them will, but they are required by law to do it. It's more likely that big organizations might have them accessible. Also, you know, not so much if you're pulling information off of someone's blog or off of somebody's, because anybody can put on a web page. So it's a matter of, you know, checking credentials and checking, you know, in that sort. So it comes back to also credibility of the information, copyright, and then, you know, it's what kind of resources do these companies have available. And if you're not sure, ask them. They always have, if they're legitimate, they will have a contact us link. Then just ask them, I'm looking for a source, I think yours is wonderful, I want to ask you about accessibility. And hopefully they won't lie.
I may have it may sound like a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it since
Not
we
a
are talking about accessibility.
No,
Is
stupid
our
question.
website is our website accessible? Are UTRGV accessible or not? I'm just asking. I don't know.
Is what accessible?
I would
Our
say
website,
yes.
university website.
I would say yes. I know that
no,
IT does that.
It's
I
not.
need to be off record.
It is not.
What is
At
it?
the moment, it is not.
Thank you. That's
We had a little conversation
okay. So I want
earlier
just to-
today.
Thank
They're working
you.
on
I
it.
just want to know.
No, they are working on it. They are aware, and they are working on it. But here's the thing. Go and get that WebAIM tool, and you can check it yourself. That's the fun part about having that tool on your browser. Anytime you're at a page, you just click on it to see what's
Just
there.
search WebAIM.
Yeah.
WebAIM is awesome.
I have a question. This is a case that I have to ask my students to go to a certain link to read certain articles, which is not accessible by this rule. Then do I have to kind of cut that link out?
If
But-
that link
But
is,
that is the only kind of reference they need and to put it in their writing, so.
if that link it takes them to a site which is not accessible,
Maybe
you-
just the PDF file, link to the PDF file
doesn't
and
make
not.
doesn't make any difference. You basically have an inaccessible tool page, in your course.
Yes. Now, the situation to me is, I need that article and let my students to read it, but because of this rule, I cannot put in my course.
I'm telling you what OCR says.
So, okay, then I'm in big trouble because let's say this way, yeah, I want to help everybody, but the majority of my students could read it. And they need this article. But because of this, then I have to cut it out, then there is no more source, the most important source. Do I have to type it by myself?
Or, well, you could also read it.
You could create an audio file.
You can create an audio file of it.
Yeah.
Just add an
You could read it.
alternative. Yeah. You don't have to cut it, just do an alternative, like read it, record yourself reading it, or, yeah, offer an alternative.
Making another file by myself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Type it like
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
But be careful if you're retyping it on copyright.
Yeah,
You've got a
exactly.
copyright issue. Read it, and you don't have that copyright violation, I don't think.
That's actually what we would have
20%.
recommended,
It's
is maybe an
20%.
audio,
Yeah, 20%.
audio example
Well,
of that.
yeah.
But also, which doesn't help, or a deaf person, but, true. But
Well, deaf
then,
person can read it, though.
Where you may want to go and look at the library, they may have that link from another source.
or,
exactly.
like Dr. Matthews had stated, if the author is still alive, contact them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
get permission. Okay, Dr. Gunn?
Or you could also do it like a literature cited and not provide a link, tell them to read the following article by the following author, and they have to go find it themselves. So if you don't provide the link and they're responsible for finding it, then they're responsible for the page that they go to.
Yeah.
And you're not.
That's a nice one.
Oh.
I mean, it's convenient for us, and it may be the only way to do it, to tell them to go find the article.
That's a nice
I don't know.
workaround.
Yeah,
I
tell
like
them,
that one.
tell them to go find the article, that way it's on them at how they access it.
Yeah.
And you improve research skills at
Right.
the same time.
Yes,
and you
plus
get the
you're
research
reinforcing
done.
research skills.
Yes.
Yes, reference it, don't link it. And I have just been told we have 1 minute left.
Oh, gosh.
So anyone else have a question for the panel, or anything? Or maybe the panel has a question for the participants.
Now, start tomorrow, make whatever new course you're working on, make something, some part of it accessible. Start with the low-hanging fruit, alt tags and color, and do that tomorrow. That will move you in the direction. And then you've got resources here
Yes.
that a lot of institutions don't have. Take advantage of them.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Round of applause for our panelists.
Can we get off the stage?
Can we escape now?
Can we get off the
No,
stage?
no,
Oh,
not
no.
yet. There is also an award for you. Well, not for you. You already got yours. So we're gonna
Do I
present.
get a water bottle?
Water bottle is pending, but what we do have for you is, can I have the first
Does
one?
can I have a water bottle count as a question?
Yeah, we would like to thank you and being recognized for being part of our panel. Susan Mills, I'll take this to you. Thank you. All right, so. Dr. Leticia De Leon.
Gosh, okay, that's bigger. That's bigger.
It's a little bit different, so you'll get the original ones for you.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And also, Tonya Pole, thank you. Thank you for being here. Presenters from our concurrent sessions, Dr. Karen Lewis, is she still here? Thank you. You want to give it? And Dr. Telji. So we got another one for Matthew at the very, but I think he's not here. He left. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna ship it this to his office, I guess. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So we can escape. Thank you.
Yeah, you can escape now.
And again, I want to remind everyone as we're doing all this extra work, just remember that eventually it is a win-win. We get diversity in our classrooms, happy students, right? Yes. Right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So at this point, go ahead. Sorry about that. Yeah. At this point, I would like to recognize the whole team who made this conference possible. So I'm going to ask you for a big round of applause for the team, and I also want for the team to be here on the front. So if you can, the whole team can be here on the front, please. Because I do have a recognition for them too, which is a plaque here with all the names of all the Colt staff. So if you can please be here on the front. So yeah, this is the team who made the conference possible. Yeah, we need to get closer, I guess. Okay, now, so the question is, where are we hanging this? Is it in Brownsville or Edinburgh? Yes, I made two identical plaques. One for Brownsville and one for, yeah. So two, one for each location. We do also have certificates of attendance for those of you who were here attending the conference. Those you will get it on your way out. It's not that we're ending yet, but on your way out you can get those at the signing table. So you can get your own certificate there. Anything else? All right, so this will be the last item on the agenda for the conference. So I guess I would like to thank you. Oh, evaluations, yes. There's some conference evaluations on your table. You can just please fill those out to make us better and have a better conference next year. That will be grateful. So the year of access does not end here. So we'd like to invite you to continue in attending our sessions or courses that we're going to have online or pilot. So we know we have the pilot with Ally, Blackboard, and our pilot with Integrity. So let's stay tuned. There's more trainings to come. And again, thank you for being here. What was that? And thank you again. If there's no more questions, there's still time to, I guess if you want to visit one last time the posters, it's still available here. Conference evaluation? Oh, yes. So you will get an email from us in terms of evaluating the conference. So you will get those from via email. Thank you.